everybody. Okay, as you're getting through with your dessert, I want to recognize a couple other people. The Grand Wailea really came through as a partner this year for this event, and I really want to recognize and thank them for it. So Matt Bailey and Kai, where are you seated? Hi, Matt. Please give them a round. They came through with everything. Thank you. Okay, we've got a couple of really special people to hear from. So if I could have your complete attention, I'd like, especially since the person I'm about to bring up is my boss. Ed Reinhardt, as many of you know, is the head of Maui Electric, but he has also served as the chair of the Maui Economic Development Board for the past 2 years. And he's been a tremendous leader for us, working with a 35-member board, which is an interesting task in itself. But we have a great board, and he's been a very, very supportive leader. So I am going to bring him up now. Please help me welcome him. He's going to introduce the mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeannie, and aloha to all of you. As chairman of the MEDB Board of Directors, I'd like to thank each and every one of you for being here. You know, when we first started looking at this, we thought that, you know, with the economic times we're in, that this may be a challenging event to undertake, but I gotta give our education committee credit. They did a great job, and want to thank them for pulling this off and managing this great event. I have the distinct honor of introducing someone who has played an instrumental role in support of an MEDB. As a former educator, she knows all too well the importance of education in building for a strong economic future. It is evident that the community safety is a top priority for our mayor and her administration, as she has shown in her storm updates to the community. She did an exceptional job with Fickle Felicia, as she termed it, ensuring that our citizens were properly informed every step of the way. As mayor of the county that hosts the largest wind farm in the state on the slopes of the West Maui Mountains, and on Lanai, the largest solar farm in the state of Hawaii, she has helped to pave the way for clean energy. 2 years ago, she led the county in an Energy Expo 2007, which highlighted renewable energy and self-sustaining of our community. And with the county partnering with MEDB, they will be sponsoring the 2009 Energy Expo Maui, Maui's Energy Future concept to reality. So we expect to have all of you sign up for that event. She leads by example right down to the car she drives, Maui County's plug-in hybrid Prius. As I understand it, her favorite invention is the snooze alarm. Well, I can honestly tell you that when it comes to public service, she's never hit that snooze button, so she's done an excellent job. And with that, it is my pleasure to introduce to you the Honorable Mayor Charmaine Tavares. Mayor.
I was going to tell you about the snooze alarm. And I'm watching the screen and looking at all the things that people think are the greatest invention in 50 years. You could tell what kind of audience this was, right? Internet, transformer, this and that, cell phones, microwaves, whatever. But to me, really, the greatest invention is the snooze alarm. Because with the kind of schedule that I keep, I don't get a solid 8 hours. I don't remember when was the last time I slept for 8 hours. And if it wasn't that snooze alarm, I have this automatic reaction. It goes like that. And if it didn't come back on again, I would sleep my way through the day probably. So I really appreciate that invention, whoever did it. Thank you for the snooze alarm. Let's hear it. I think you folks noticed on your table you have these little centerpieces. And they were, I don't know who decorated them or did them, but they're terrific. And if, I don't know, Leslie, you can yell out who did it. Lynn Ishikawa and family. So let's give them a big hand for these centerpieces. I guess the head table is special because we had other centerpieces, and this is the one that was on ours. I'm holding it now. And this, for those of you who flunked chemistry, is a molecule, or a bunch of molecules stuck together. I have a contest for you all. So whoever can identify what element this is the molecule for, I will take you to dinner at Sea-Watch. Okay? The entry is due at the end of the evening. You whisper to me what you think it is, and I'll tell you if you're correct or not. Do not let the colors fool you. The colors are merely decorative. Okay? You have to look at the relationship between the sizes of these parts. Okay? This is a compound molecule. It is not huli huli chicken. Seriously, I have to admit that this is probably my most favorite event to come to every year. Because as an educator, a former educator, education is very, very important to me, and always has been. And I started in life thinking I was going to be something else, and probably I shouldn't admit it to this group. I'm one of those students you lost, because I started college as a chemistry major, and then decided I didn't want to spend the rest of my life with things like this. So I changed my major to education, because I wanted to talk to things that could understand what I'm saying, would interact with me. Look at this thing, it's just a blob. Yeah, but anyway, it was through the educational opportunities I had in high school even, and even in elementary school, throughout my education, the opportunities that came to me in the area of science and technology came because of the teacher, not because of the program. And I think some of you in this room can relate to that. The reason why you selected the field you were in because somebody inspired you as a teacher. And teaching is very, very important because it can change your life, just as teachers changed my life. I wanted to be that change agent in other people's lives. That's why I took up education. And this is why I'm so dedicated to education for our youth especially. We started a tradition, I think, last year was the first year, when Leslie and Jeannie would come and visit me, and they said, we'd like you to tell us a story related to a science experience. And you know, if this is going to go on every year as an annual event, and while I'm still alive and kicking, and even if I have one of those souped up roundabouts or whatever they call those, get-abouts, scout-abouts, whatever they are, those scooters that, you know, older people use when they can't walk. Mine's going to be souped up. It's going to have a lightning bolt on the side, just like my car. And I'm going to be in the community for as long as I possibly can. And every time you have this event, I'm going to come and I'm going to tell you another story about my science experience. I have so many stories, it will outlive all of you in this room. I told a story last year about my experiment with electric light bulb and trying to dry my socks. I was trying to invent the dryer, which hadn't been invented yet, and I was getting so close. But burning the sock on the light bulb ruined my chances of ever getting a patent on that. So I gave it up. So my second favorite story is to talk about, as a youngster, I was very enthusiastic about science. My parents were a little bewildered by my interest in science. They thought I was kind of weird. But they did ask Santa Claus to bring me for Christmas a chemistry set. Anybody had a chemistry set when they were a little kid? Yeah, let's hear it for chemistry sets. Well, I was completely enthralled with my chemistry set. I must have been in the 6th grade or so. And I take out my chemistry set. It was one of those fold-out ones. It had a microscope. It had slides. It had all these little vials with different chemicals in it. And I would make these concoctions and then look at the crystals that it formed. And the most fascinating chemical or piece of in the chemistry set was this vial that had copper sulfate in it. Does anybody know the color of copper sulfate? Oh, it's a room full of scientists. This is like basic chemistry. What is the color of copper sulfate? Blue. All right, it's blue. It's not just blue. It is the most beautiful blue you've ever seen. In fact, our lovely Irene Hirono is wearing the color blue of copper sulfate. Irene, would you please stand? Okay, now is that not a beautiful color? Okay, so I was fascinated. It's beautiful blue copper sulfate. So I'm mixing up something. In the meantime, my mom has already called for the third time. Dinner is ready. And I'm still fooling around with my chemistry set in my bedroom. And I said, the fourth time she calls, you better be running. If not, you don't eat. So I just closed up the chemistry set, went to eat. Later on that evening, I wake up because I'm feeling funny. And I go to the bathroom and turn on the light. And my face is all swollen. My hands are swollen. I can feel my fingerprints. Can any of you feel your fingerprints? I could feel my fingerprints. So I go trotting into my mom and dad's room, knock on the door, and say, I think something's wrong. I can feel my fingerprints. And they go, oh, now what? So they turn on the light. My father jumps out of bed, throws a blanket over me, puts me in the car, takes me to Punane Clinic. I have developed an allergy to, of all things, copper sulfate. And the reason is, well, I didn't have time to wash my hands because my mom was already calling me for dinner, and I would starve if I didn't get there before she counted to 10. So forget washing my hands. So that's my other story about my experiences with science. Okay. So if you want to hear the next one, you have to come to this event next year. It gets better and better as I tell these stories about, and they're true. In fact, my sister was sitting here last year and said, I thought you were going to tell the one about the copper sulfate. Anyway, I told the sock one, but there's more to come. But anyway, it is a pleasure for me to be here, and I have the honor, actually, of introducing our next little guests. And we get to hear from some of the grantees in each of these programs. And this year, these grantees also received the K. Alahele Award last year. And you'll be inspired by their work. They're two very fine folks. And I'd like to come to the stage and show us what your dollars buy us as a community. Please join me in welcoming our co-anchors. That's for suspense. Ashley Hudson and Alec Biscus. All right, thank you very much. Go get it.